Happy St. Patrick's Day. I actually forgot it was St. Patrick's Day until I got here to downtown Greensboro. And there were all these people everywhere, and I said, why is it so crowded downtown? And then I saw a man walk by in this big sequin sparkly green hat. I said, oh God, it's St. Patrick's Day. I don't have on any green at all, so I guess somebody could pinch me if they saw me, but I don't care. Today I want to take you somewhere a little different. Like I said, we're in downtown Greensboro. I want to show you we have a museum down here. It's the Greensboro Historical Museum. And I'm standing in front of it right now. I wanted to give you a feel of how big this museum is. First, I want to show you what's on the other side of the street. Now, I know it doesn't look like much for right now. Right here, this is going to be the Stephen Tanger Center of Performing Arts. And it's going to take up this entire block for the most part. And then you have the rest of Greensboro, like some of the bigger buildings down that way. Over there is our baseball stadium. You can't see it though, it's blocked by the Marriott. But yeah, this whole thing is going to be the Center for Performing Arts. And if you like Wrangler jeans, right over there is the corporate office building for Wrangler, which is pretty cool. I can't get it all in there. It's this whole building, and it wraps around that way. And they started out on I believe Elm Street in Greensboro 50 bajillion years ago or something like that. Anyway, their office is here. So this is going to be the Center for Performing Arts. Now, there were some people walking by. I wanted to wait till they got out of the way. I wanted to show you, this is the Greensboro Historical Museum. Now, I don't know if I can get it all in one shot. And there's a light post in my way, but you can't even see it all. It kind of wraps around that way and comes this way. This used to be a hospital back a long time ago. Now, when we go in, hopefully I will be able to show you some information and tell you a little bit more about that. But that's what this used to be. It was an old hospital. And then I think it was a couple of other things at some point. But I wanted to show you the outside before we went inside, because once you get inside, you can't really get a feel for how big the place is. And we won't be able to see everything in there, but I want to show you as much as I can. So let's go in. Okay, we're inside. We're on the second floor of the museum, and there are 3 floors, and each floor has something a little different in it. It looks like there's a lot of pottery in here, if you're interested in pottery. It's kind of hard to read these things. But look at that, isn't that beautiful? And I don't have my glasses on, so it's kind of hard for me to read some of these signs. Like they have a bunch of stuff up on the wall. I really should have worn my glasses. Asian translations. And then they have 2 pictures of some pots there. Those are beautiful. Pots such as these were the inspiration for the developing Jugtown forms. Ben, I don't know who Ben is. I should probably figure that out. Oh, Ben Owen. The Busbys hired Charlie Teague and Ben Owen. Ben collected these images from New York's Metropolitan Museum of Art. Jacques Busby and Ben Owen became inspired by the pots when they saw their during their study trips in the early 1930s. During their visits to museums, not just in New York, but also Boston, Washington, and New Orleans, Ben would sketch and take notes on pieces that caught his eye. That's just, oh, I love the blue ones back there. That's gorgeous. So we have that, and then we have these. Ooh, look at that one. It's so pretty. There are a lot of people in here today. I was kind of hoping it would be a quiet day, but with it being St. Patrick's Day and stuff going on downtown, there are a lot of people in here. Look at that. That's cute. This is Arthur and Joanne. I wonder if they know they misspelled their name. It's supposed to be Blumenthal. Blumenthal? I don't think that's right. The Blumenthals are a big family. Oh no, it is Blumenthal. That's interesting because the Blumenthals have been a big influence on Greensboro. The art of turning clay, the Blumenthal pottery collection. That's interesting. I've never heard that last name here. I am familiar with Blumenthal. The story of Jugtown. Jugtown where? Fun facts. How did the Busbys come up with the name Jugtown? The name Jugtown came from an early term for a community of potters. And these are attributed to Ben Owen that we read about earlier. Oh, they're just beautiful. So pretty. And then they show, that's Ben Owen up there working on a pot. Together, they began introducing new glazes. Oh, those are pretty. They're so small. They're really little. Oh, Seagrove. Seagrove is a big pottery place in North Carolina. It's actually not far from here. What's this? Ooh, I can lean over. It's not glassed off. Look at that. That's just beautiful. Oh, I love that big wardrobe. Wow. The Bellmead Room. This and adjoining rooms are recreated from the Bellmead, a Greensboro residence built in 1867 and raised in 1954. Owner Henry Humphreys Tate purchased many of the original furnishings, including the bedroom suite in New York. The pediments on the bureau and bed and the applied medallions on the cornices are typical of the Renaissance Revival style, inspired by 17th century European designs. That's just beautiful. It says an alarm will go off if I reach past this rail, so I'm not going to risk it. Oh, look at those curtains. That's gorgeous. Oh, my goodness. And what's over here? This is the Bellmead dining room. Many family celebrations took place around the walnut table, which dominates the room. Designed in the pillar and scroll style with a double pedestal base, it is lit by a reproduction Rococo Revival chandelier. Other furnishings, including the 8 chairs and window cornices, represent the Renaissance Revival style. Isn't that beautiful? Oh, I love the little candle, the candelabra thing there, and the silver service back there. That's just beautiful. And the little buffet over there, little sideboard. The curtains are just gorgeous. That's beautiful. And the light. Nice. And we have one more room. What is this one? This is the Bellmead parlor. Ooh, looks like a camera on the table. That's so beautiful. I love that rug. The rug is gorgeous. Oh, and that archway. Oh my gosh, that's so pretty. And the light up there. Oh, it's beautiful. This room is so pretty. And a little sofa over there. Oh, and a top hat and cane in the chair. Oh my gosh. I get back up so you can see. It's kind of hard to see over in that corner. There's a little corner thing over there, but I don't want to set the alarm off. Now, what does it say about this room? The Bellmead parlor. And I'm not reading it all. There's a bunch. In the formal parlor, the Tate family's finest furnishings were displayed, and their most important events took place, including the weddings of May and Kate Louise. The elegant drapery, decorative moldings, marble fireplace. Ooh, that's marble. An original floral carpet contrast with the plain white walls, which were common in the South at this time. It really is beautiful. I love that rug. I'm going to read a little bit more. Much of the furniture was purchased in New York City at A.T. Stewart and Company, later John Wanamaker and Company. The etagere, or whatnot, was a specialty piece to display accessories. Must be that thing over there. Let's see. While the center table was a popular spot for a variety of activities. The table holds a magic lantern, which uses a kerosene lamp to project a colorful scene on the wall. Oh, it's a little projector. How cool. You see that? That's so cute. I love it. Okay. Bellmead. Now here we have some other stuff. Look at these little figures. They're so pretty. And a little handkerchief. Bellmead. There's the house. An impressive house owned by one family, Bellmead was an important site in Greensboro for nearly a century. The Italianate-style residence had 9 rooms and was flanked by numerous outbuildings, including a kitchen. Distinctive architectural features were its wide eaves with large brackets, manufactured millwork, and a cupola. Long porch and bay windows, which linked interior and exterior spaces. Bellmead, beautiful meadow in French, was the focal point for a well-landscaped estate of 15 acres. A street was cut through the property in 1882 and named for the house, which stood near the northeast corner of the intersection of Bellmead and Edgeworth Streets. It was built in 1867 for Henry Humphreys and Eliza Hill Tate. It was furnished with family pieces and new items purchased in New York. As the grandson and namesake of one of Greensboro's pioneer businessmen, Tate could afford the best for his family, which grew to include 4 children: Mary, Thomas Hill, Henry Humphreys, and Kate Louise. And this is the top here is this is where they're setting up this exhibit. That's Ginger Weil installing reproduction wallpaper, and Morris Whitley is repairing the dining room plaster. Oh, and here you can see the original. That's what it looked like in real life. That's so pretty. The photograph at the bottom was taken in 1951. And that is Mrs. Mary Tate and Mrs. Nelson Walsh Hughes. Picture taken in 1951. All right. Now let's see. Look go this way and see what happens. Oh, I didn't see this room. Over here behind the pottery. What is this? This is the Mendenhall Simpson room. Now, I do believe the Mendenhalls were Quakers, but I could be wrong about that. We do actually have a large, there was a large population of Quakers in the Greensboro and Jamestown area in the past. Oh, look, down there, little toys. This room is definitely not as fancy as the other ones, but I like it. I love that big thing over there. It's like a secretary. It has the desk that folds out, you know? And then you just have the plain wood floor and one little rug there. Nice. Okay, let's come through here. Wait a minute. No, I was going this way. I got turned around. Ooh, look at this. This one is closed right now. Oh, there are typewriters in there. It's closed, but I see typewriters at a table. I wonder if they know about computers. You know, I actually had to use a typewriter at work on Friday for something. I had to prepare a stock certificate, and there was no template on our system for it. It's the one we don't use very often. I had to use a typewriter for the first time, and I don't know how long. Oh my God, I had no idea what I was doing. That's so pretty, though. Let's see.
So anyway, here's all the stars.
Voices of a City, Greensboro, North Carolina. Oh, and they have all kinds of sayings. Oh, this is about the, shoot. My mind has gone blank. It was not spontaneous action on our part. We have a definite purpose and a goal in mind. This was the Woolworths sit-in, and with God on our side, then we ask, who can be against us? And that's from one of the A&T students, Joseph McNeil. His name has got messed up, but that was one of the 4 the Walgreens sit-in. And this must have been 9/11. Have you heard what's going on? My flight has been hijacked. Flight attendant Sandy Bradshaw. Greensboro, North Carolina. A gateway, a haven, a home, an ordinary place resounding with extraordinary voices. Hear about newcomers forging a community from the wilderness, determined to stay and eager to create a better future. Hear stories about hard work, about people striving, creating, and struggling. Hear how a small town becomes a city. Hear about people with the courage to fight a common foe and the courage to take unpopular stands. Here you find the people of Greensboro, holding tight to traditions and nurturing visions of change. We talk, we debate, we adapt. Hear us. In 1756, the Buffalo Presbyterian Church was founded. Kindergarten maintained by the Proximity Manufacturing Company. Proximity, I think, was a textile mill. I'm not sure. Most of these pictures don't have descriptions. In 1776, the Declaration of Independence was signed. And then we come over here. 1781 was the Battle of the Guilford Courthouse, which I would love to read some stuff to you about that sometime. It's really interesting. The Battle of the Guilford Courthouse. I don't know who these people are. It doesn't say. Some of these pictures are new and some are old. 1808, Greensboro was founded. 1829, the first census counts 606 people. We have over 230,000 now. 1849, the first volunteer fire company was started. In 1856, the first train arrived in Greensboro. 1875, the first two public schools opened in Greensboro. This was the Guilford Battleground where the Battle of Guilford Courthouse took place. We have a street now called Battleground Avenue named in honor of that. In 1880, the first telephones were installed. Oh, look at that. Seamstresses. In 1895, Proximity Mills makes denim. That was a big employer in Greensboro for a long time. Proximity Mills. In 1890, the Gate City becomes the new nickname. 1908, the city celebrates 100 years. Look at all those babies. Oh my God. 1920, the women gained the right to vote. Well, that's an old picture. 1924, the Historical Museum was founded. In 1943, the World War II Army Air Force Base opened. I didn't know we had an Army Air Force Base here at some point. They change the exhibits in here pretty often. I actually haven't been in here in a while. In 1960 was the Greensboro sit-ins to protest racial demonstration. That's the four A&T students that participated in the sit-in at the Woolworth counter. That's right downtown. That's not a mile from where we are right now. 1966, the Wendover Avenue thoroughfare opens. I go down that road all the time. 1969, astronaut Neil Armstrong walks on the moon. Look at that camera. Oh my goodness. That's cool. 1993, the first female mayor was elected. 2001, over 3,000 Americans died in terrorist attacks. And I was right downtown the day that happened. I will never forget that. I was at work. 2008, the city celebrates 200 years. Oh my God. What we got in here? Bewitching country. Bewitching country. Oh, that's beautiful. Look at that. Life before 1808. Long before Greensboro's creation in 1808, people lived, worked, and fought on this land. Generations migrated to the Carolina backcountry, lured by lush forests and abundant land. Generations of Native Americans, Europeans, and Africans whose voices echo through artifacts and the written word. Native American artisans created tools and products, pieces that could be used at home or traded. Those pieces spoke alluringly to trading partners, especially ambitious Europeans. Newcomers to this beautiful, unfamiliar land, German-speaking Lutherans, Scots, Irish Presbyterians, enslaved Africans, and English Quakers, voiced their commonalities and differences with each other. When those voices became filled with political conflict, what happened was the furor of war. It is perhaps the most pleasing, the most bewitching country which the continent affords. French-American writer J. Hector St. Jean de Crèvecoeur, 1782. First residents. Now here's the state of North Carolina, and we are right about here, kind of in the middle. But we have linguistic divisions. We have Iroquoian, Siouan, Algonquian out here. I'm sorry, Iroquoian is here and here, and then these are Indian trails all across. 10,000 years ago, Native Americans traversed footpaths across the region now known as Piedmont, North Carolina, which is kind of in the middle right here. It's foothills, Piedmont. A day's journey covered pristine wilderness, traced ridge lines, and crossed streams and rivers. Forests of pine, oak, and hickory shaded pathways and offered a bounty of native plants and wildlife. People lived a nomadic lifestyle until they began to establish villages about 2,000 years ago. Tribes shared goods and services, ideas, and culture with other communities through extensive trade networks. Nor can anything be desired by a contented mind as to a pleasant situation, but what may here be found, every step presenting some new object which still adds invitation to the traveler in these parts. British surveyor John Lawson, 1701. Oh, arrowheads. Oh, I love arrowheads. I used to have a really great collection of arrowheads. My grandfather would till up a huge area around their house every spring for planting. And as soon as he finished tilling, I would go out there and look, and you could always find arrowheads out there. These are from 1800 AD, and then they go down, and they're older and older from there. Look at that. Oh, they're just so cool. All the way down to 12,000 BC. Wow. Nice. And then we have, these look like axe heads here. Those are cool. Yeah, handmade stone axes. Served as general purpose tools. Craftsmen chipped one stone with another to shape it and then used a more rough stone for grinding and polishing. Honing could give the axe a very sharp edge. Oh, look at these little things. Making stone tools was a time-consuming process of chipping, grinding, and polishing one stone with another. Scrapers, drills, and knives were used to prepare food, make clothing, and build shelter. Oh, that's awesome. Look, can you imagine how hard it was to make some of these things? Sorry, the glare from my phone is getting on the glass. Ooh, look at that. What's this, number 3? Mortar and pestle used to grind nuts, seeds, and plants. And back there, those are soapstone bowls. They predate those made of clay. The mineral's high talc content made it fairly soft and easy to carve into a bowl. Because soapstone also absorbed and distributed heat, small fragments could be placed in a fire, then dipped into a liquid to quickly warm it. Oh, look at that tiny thing. That is a small pot made by pinching and pulling a ball of clay. That is so cool. Look at that little tiny thing. Number 6. It's like shards of pottery back there. The ancient craft and art of pottery, a craft developed by women, held an undeniably important place in Native American culture. And as one scholar noted, southeastern Indians made pottery in an astonishing variety of utilitarian and ceremonial forms. To make a large pot, potters coiled long pieces of clay, then joined them together one after another to achieve the desired shape and size. After smoothing the coils together and letting the clay slightly dry, the potter might press, stamp, or draw a decorative design. And you can see the coils. It's like if you saw the video of Mr. Rogers and Dolly Naranjo. That's how she made her pottery, with coils. Number 7. Oh, pipes. Look at the pipes. Southeastern Indians smoked tobacco for pleasure and as part of rituals. An ancient variation which originated in the central Andes, known as Nicotiana rustica, was used as an herb to suppress hunger, as medicine, and in some spiritual ceremonies. Quarry blanks. Look at all those pieces. And a hammerstone. Playing chunky. That's what it says. Chunky, C-H-U-N-K-E-Y. 2 men, or sometimes a team, match their skills at chunky, a game that was extremely popular during the 1600s and 1700s. After throwing a disc-shaped stone, competitors threw a pole in the same direction, hoping that when the stone stopped rolling, their pole would be the closest and earn the most points. Towns or clans within a town owned the chunky stones, prized pieces that were carefully polished. Spectators often bet on the game's outcome. Rolling the stone. Round stones could have been used in a game called Rolling the Stone. Players rolled round stones along a trench dug with holes at one end. They scored points based on where their game pieces landed. Oh, look at these tortoise shells. Oh my goodness. Wow, what is that about? Okay, number 9, first, those are ornaments worn on a necklace known as gorgets. Women wore turtle rattles around their ankles during events such as the green corn ceremony, when the most esteemed women in the village took part in a dance ritual. Decorative animal claws and metal pieces sounded the rattle.
So this is Dolly Madison time period.
There are people in here.
So,
Look at that.
so
Number 10, what is that? Copper trade items exchanged during Europeans and Native Americans and found in Guilford County. An ear spool, ornamental hair tools, jewelry bangle, and hawk bells and a ring. Oh, look at that necklace. There are people in here, dagnabbit. Ooh, look at that. That necklace is gorgeous. Look at that. What is that? Oh, it's a little pipe with a pig on it. It's like, oh, it's a bear. I'm sorry, it's not a pig. It's a bear effigy pipe. Sorry. Oh, look over here. It's a covered wagon. Wow. How many of y'all have seen an actual covered wagon before? Look at this. I've only seen them in museums like this. That's huge. Look at that. Traveling the Great Wagon Road. Oh, and down in here we see little tools and things. Oh, and there's a little cradle back there and a spinning spinner spins thread and a big chest back there. Traveling the Great Wagon Road to the Carolina backcountry required resources and planning. Newcomers needed money to purchase land and to buy a wagon for the trip. They also had to decide what necessities and treasures to pack and what to leave behind. During the 1700s, thousands made the trek, traveling with dreams of a better life. Families loaded a wagon with their belongings, like maybe stuff like this, and then walked alongside during the trip. A team of horses or oxen led the way, steered by a driver who either walked on the left or rode the last horse on the left. Travel lasted from sunup to sundown, with most trips timed so that there would be pleasant weather on arrival for planting crops and building a home. Wow. Youngsters had an important job as they walked beside the wagon. They had to stay alert for any burning smell, for that meant there was too much friction between the axle and the wheel, and time to smear grease on the axle to prevent a disastrous breakdown. And my kids complain when they have to go somewhere without their tablet. Oh, okay, now back there, that is a blanket chest and is made of tulip poplar wood with paint decoration and an English-made walnut cradle, said by family tradition to be used by every generation of girls from 1752 until donated to the museum in 1925. And then they have a section about, I'm just reading this, they have a section about the tools, which we see there. On the morning of the appointed day, they assemble and divided themselves. One party cuts down the trees, another loops and cuts them to the proper lengths. A third is furnished with horses and oxen and drags them to the spot designed for the site of the house. Another party is employed making shingles to cover the roof, and at night all the materials are ready upon the spot, and on the night of the next day, he and his family sleep in their new habitation. And that was written by Scottish botanist and travel writer John Bradbury in 1810. Sorry, my allergies are making my nose run. And see in there, you just see some personal effects that might go in the wagon. Newcomers lived in temporary shelter until they could build a log house. A number of specialized tools made the work easier, with two types essential. Cutting down trees, preparing the trunks, and shaping corner notches required a felling axe. Shaping each log was hard work made easier by a broad axe, whose curved handle protected hands from painful scrapes. Hey, look at that hat. Shoot, I'd wear that now. That's cool. Sorry. It is, though. I would totally wear that. Okay, this is about the Battle of Guilford Courthouse on the battlefield. The Guilford County Courthouse stood on a high clearing with dense woods and cornfields nearby. American Commander Nathaniel Greene placed his 3 lines of men accordingly, with 2 lines of militia supported by his best trained Continental troops. The British deliberately approached the first militia line, even as the Patriots let loose their first volleys. Next, the British pulled their bayonets, which sent most of the first line fleeing. The British kept going past the second line toward the Continentals. The fighting was fierce. British Commander Charles Cornwallis ordered the artillery to fire through the British lines, and that gained him his victory. But victory came at a high cost, including 1/4 of his officers. Over here we have some busts. This is the John Alexander family. Tradition holds that Jean Alexander helped defend her family with this pitchfork when Tory sympathizers threatened their home. That must have been during the Revolutionary War or right before it. Her father, John, armed himself with a rifle. Her mother took up an axe, but it was Jean who fatally wounded the Tories' leader and caused the group to retreat. One account says Jean made her attack through a gap in the cabin's walls, thrusting the fork into the man as he stood outside. Again, it is Eli Carruthers who wrote about this event for future generations. Hear what he had to say. The daughters at his command instantly charged upon them with their pitchforks and with great resolution. And during the late 1700s, the cause of freedom sparked conflict on and off the battlefield. The majority of Guilford County residents supported the fight for independence, but strong differences of opinion existed. The tensions pitted neighbor against neighbor, loyalist against patriot, and these conflicts led to ransacked homes and threats to life and property. When we were talking about getting our independence from Britain, the complex thread of politics also included dissent by Quakers who believed that fighting in a war defied biblical teachings, and the perception by African Americans of a double standard for slaveholders who complained of being shackled by Great Britain. After the Battle of Guilford Courthouse, local citizens turned out to nurse wounded from both sides. Oh, it's your choice. Will you stay out of the debate? And this is where you can slide these and decide. And then you lift the door to reveal which of your views you're most similar to. Taxation, soldiers, insight, take a side or take a pass, uphold your beliefs or join the fight, fight or keep the peace. And then you can just slide it, and then you would see what your results were. There's a map. It's kind of dark in here.
Sorry.
It's okay. That's fine. Oh, big pictures. Town life. See, it used to be spelled differently. Greensborough. That's not me. That's somebody else. Look at these houses. It's cool. Oh, look at the water pump. That is, let's see. Here's a section about the water pump. Here's the city water tower, which was near South Elm Street around 1889. A line trademark, I don't see a line trademark, it must be somewhere I can't see it, suggests this water pump was made about 1890 by British firm Joseph Evans and Sons. A pump can be seen in the West Market Street scene above right. I don't know. In 1872, city officials spent $937.14 on building and maintaining streets, bridges, and water pumps, almost 33% of the entire budget. In 2010, officials estimated that 20% of Greensboro's general fund was spent on transportation and environmental services. And this right here is an 1891 cornerstone from Eagle Hose Company number 7 from South Davie Street. Plotting the town. When surveyor Nathan Mendenhall located the county's exact geographical center, he found an unsuitable town site, a large marsh. Commissioners solved the problem by selecting a location slightly southwest on the crest of a hill. By the end of 1808, Mendenhall mapped out a village 1/4 mile square. And this is the precision compass that he used to define land boundaries. Or no, I'm sorry, it's similar to this one. It's a late 1770s model, crafted by fellow Guilford County Quaker and silversmith Cam Moore. I'll come back to this picture. Ooh, check that out. Early Greensboro, and that's the way it used to be spelled. This is 1808 to 1890. It was named in honor of Revolutionary War General Nathaniel Greene. The town and it remained small in population and size for many years. It was a community of familiar faces with modest cabins and grand homes lining dusty streets. Up place where conversations buzzed along those dusty streets and circulated into workplaces, churches, classrooms, and the newspaper. There's so much to see in here. Ooh, this is a big piece of granite. What is this? The last stagecoach marker in Guilford County. Formerly located at Sedalia, the X indicated that Greensboro was 10 miles away. Such markers were common on the main roads prior to 1860. Oh, look at that. So you knew you had 10 miles to go. Wow, that's really cool. Rich soil, farming in Guilford County. Look at that. Oh, here's an old plow. I would not want to have to spend all day with that. Ugh, no. Look at that bowl. Oh, that's awesome. Oh, that's gorgeous. Craft and trade. Up there, those are Jamestown rifles. By 1850, Jamestown Deep River School comprised one of the largest groups of gunsmiths in the South. Their products were being shipped all over Piedmont, North Carolina by mail order. And my father, when I was growing up, was a gunsmith. He would love to see that. I don't think he's ever been here. Look at that beautiful quilt back there. Oh, that's gorgeous. This is an early 1800s starburst pattern cotton pieced quilt by Anna Bash. Oh, it's a penny farthing. Look at that. I love those things. I've always wanted to try it, although I'd probably break my neck, but I've always wondered how in the heck you ride that thing. I would love to try it. It's kind of on my bucket list, but I don't know anybody that has one. I don't even know where you would ride something like that, but I've always wanted to try it. There's a guitar back there made in about 1840. A music instructor gave the guitar to a student, Thomas J. Sloan, who played it as a member of the 27th North Carolina Infantry's regimental band, and a fiddle. And look at that. That is a magic lantern like we saw in that one room. A metal box, a concave mirror, and a light source could bring the world into a family's parlor, all by projecting images onto a wall. Friends and family gathered to learn, discuss, and marvel at hand-painted color slides. Scenes from literature and exotic places were especially popular. Townspeople could also buy tickets to magic lantern shows. Cool. Oh, me. Look at that. There's so much to see in here. We haven't even made it to the 3rd floor. Staples and fancy goods. Ooh, that's pretty. Look at that necklace. It's not actually a necklace, probably, but it's pretty. This is Civil War stuff here. That's what that is. And this is about the slave trade before the Civil War. These examples of skilled craftsmanship of enslaved people working for no wage are important and emotional testaments to their talent and artistry. There's a cap right here. This rare handmade cotton cap was worn by an enslaved woman in Guilford County. The cap is meant to fit close to the head with a drawstring along the back edge. That dress is beautiful. Look at that. A still-to-be-identified slave seamstress made this cotton dress by hand for Mary Kelly Watson Smith in the late 1830s. That's so pretty. And a ladder-back chair is made by an enslaved person owned by John Starr Moore of York County, South Carolina. Slavery as we've heard it. 2 research projects preserved the often hidden voices of enslaved people. During the 1930s, Bennett College professor William Edward Farrison interviewed local African Americans who had been born into slavery. His interviewees had received little, if any, education and spent most of their lives in Guilford County. Farrison heard rare first-person accounts from several dozen men and women. Only small portions of those conversations have survived without identifying names. In 1932, African American students at Jonesboro School interviewed family and friends for an essay series called Slavery as We've Heard It. Wow, these pictures are big. The Tarpley rifle. Boy, that's a long gun. Peace meetings. Support for the Union survived after secession and led to local peace meetings in 1863 and 1864. Reconstruction and redefining. Ooh, that chair. Denim capital. Now, I don't know if you know, but there were a lot of textile mills in this area, in Greensboro and in the surrounding areas, back in the early 1900s, all the way up until about the 80s. Look at that old Singer sewing machine back there. Here you can see some examples of some old looms where they're making denim. The Cone denim plant here made a lot of denim, and that I think is where Wrangler got its stuff for a long time. And here's an old loom here. Moses Cone was one of the original Cone. The Cone family is really big here, and they got into making denim. And Caesar Cone, we have a hospital named after him now, Moses Cone Hospital. Denim capital. Look at that. Oh, I recognize that little section right there. It's so cool to see that. Look at all those power lines and things. Denim. This is 1891 and 1945. Denim, a simple fabric perfect for sturdy work clothes, helped make Greensboro a city of the New South. Bales of cotton, rolls of cloth, and generations of textile workers turned the community into the nation's denim capital. Greensboro has the biggest denim mills. The point to remember is that Greensboro has the biggest. Journalist Gerald Johnson, 1924. Look at that thing, that's weird. North Carolina Bank and Trust. I used to walk down this street every day going to the gym. There used to be a gym down there a long time ago. Look at that old Vicks VapoRub sign. That's right. Vicks VapoRub got started in Greensboro too. I forgot all about that. When pharmacist Lunsford Richardson arrived in Greensboro in 1891 with his wife Mary Lynn, he bought a drugstore. He also began to make and sell over-the-counter medicines, one of which would be sold around the world. And that was Vicks VapoRub. Vicks Magic Croup Salve. Oh, and there you can see an old sign on the road. That's cool. I forgot about that, but that started in Greensboro too. And you can see some old Vicks products in here. Formula 44D. I remember when they looked like that. That's cool. Little liver pills, little laxative pills. Look at that tiny Vicks spoon. There's a train in here. Here you have the manufacture of denim, where you start with the cotton on the bowls of cotton, spin it, you dye it, you weave it, you end up with denim. Look at that big old thing. Look up there. Oh, it's something about a pack of cigarettes. You get a free pack of cigarettes if your cashier does not give you a cash register receipt showing the correct amount of your cash purchase. Huh. That probably wouldn't go over too well today. Look at those little tiny overalls. Oh my God, they're cute. Wow. There is so much in here. I don't think we're going to get to all of it today. I may have to come back and do a part 2 if y'all want to see more. Army camp. I think here we're talking about World War II. Army Town. They opened up, the Air Force opened a basic training center here. I never knew that. And here we have things about war bonds, old ads for war stamps and bonds. Salvage. The U.S. government encouraged Americans to conserve and recycle materials such as metal, paper, and rubber, which factories could then use to make things for the military. Lots of everyday household trash had value. Kitchen pots, old metal shovels, even empty metal lipstick tubes. Ooh. Oh, polio, yeah. Polio was a real problem back in the 50s. I had a teacher in elementary school that had polio as a child, and I had to use braces to, arm braces to walk. Look at those hats. Wow. And here is, I think this is a replica of the, yeah, it's not the real thing, it's a replica of the lunch counter from Walgreens during the sit-ins in 1960. And there you can see the picture of the 4 A&T students again. Sorry, not Walgreens, Woolworth. And that is a picture of the front of the Woolworth counter as it looked back then. And it still looks like that. They've restored it, and it is now a museum. It's the Civil Rights Museum. I have to take you in there. It's really good too. But that's a replica of what the counter looked like.
After 3 short weeks, I was killed in a car accident. I was only 4.
Look at that. I remember when they did this. This actually wasn't very long ago that they rebuilt that building right there. They stripped it all the way down to the frame and rebuilt the whole thing.
Thank you.
Oh, that's pretty.
This is always a fascinating exhibit. Every time I come through, I see something.
Wow. I think I have to go out this way. Please use this door and turn right. Okay, I'm back where I started. Turn right. We're gonna try to go upstairs. I don't know. Oops. No, it says museum staff only. Hey! There's the covered wagon again. That is so cool. Look at that. Look how big it is. I don't know if you can get a feel for how big this thing is. It's big. It's really big. Oh, there's the front. Check it out. It's gigantic. But I don't think I'm going to make it up to the 3rd floor. This is almost an hour already, but thank you so much for coming to look around with me. I hope you enjoyed it. If you want to see more, I'd be happy to come back sometime and we could go up to the 3rd floor, see what's up there. So thank you again for coming to see it, and I will see you again later.